Namaskarams Masters. Namaskarams Master E.K. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmala Spatikakrutim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmage. Namaskarams to all. This is the video which I am presenting the subject of wisdom. Wisdom at various levels is having its own attributions. The world is called wisdom is enhanced the world maturity. The maturity of the world depends on the wisdom. Every era has its own wisdom. So knowledge is power. It's a common phenomena. The knowledge is universal. It is also a common thing. But world wisdom is very great, attributive, and also phenomenal to understand. Think of joy, think of understand, think of enhancing the human to human to the relationship. And such things are, the bird knowledge is very essential in this regard. Bird knowledge. So nowadays, the words meanings are learning, but they don't know how to utilize it, how to understand them, how to make the feel and zeal is not having its own sense. So that is the drawback of the present day of education. So in this regard, the expression of life or the enrichment of the life depends on the feeling and the different attributions which will be attributing one to another. And next is today the words which are in this regard, the words which are discussing the different dual words having some same kind of pronunciation. In this pronunciation, the observation, if you do it, there are used to be similar. Sometimes may think the human being at any level, there may be similar action or similar work. So, in this regard, the sympathy and empathy, there are two words, sympathy and empathy. S-Y-M-P-T-H-A-Y, sympathy. Empathy, E-A-M-P-A-T-H-Y, pati. Here also a pati, there also a pati. The pati is a common thing. The pati means the sense. The pati is nothing but the sense. Though sympathy indicates the appetableness, a sorrowfulness, grievance, such kind of conditions between the person and the stage of activity. Suppose a person was hospitalized. Their own people will go to the hospital to see him and they will cry. They will cry. They will feel. So this is called a sympathy. Really we can't do anything at the stage. We can't do anything to that particular patient or to the dead body. But we have some grievance. Grievance in our heart will be shown. That is called sometimes the sympathy. Sympathy, truly an indication of misfortune. Sometimes it is a misfortune. Misfortune means the unluck. And that is misfortune is luck. Fortune is a luck and misfortune is unlucky. So which is because we can't imagine it. We can't visualize it. That misfortune is my own meaning for the misfortune is misfortune is misfortune. Misfortune is misfortune. Misfortune is misfortune. What is misfor? It has been missed. The tuning of the life was missed its own tune. So then it will be a misfortune. So that is why a common feeling in human beings towards the objectives or things or the other human beings. It is called sympathy, is feeling towards the others. So example, I told them like that. Suppose somebody has lost the money, maybe traveling, maybe somebody failed in the examination. We can't do anything for in the examination for them, for the student, but other students will sympathize him. Maybe great reader, great struggler, but he will lost in elections. Like that, so many examples we can. But what is the empathy? The empathy is one way or the other. It's an understanding of other persons. So we are complete. In the sympathy, we can't understand sometimes. Everybody will having their own sympathy towards the objectives, but in empathy, understanding of others' feelings and involving in their keeping some decision-oriented things. It is an all attributional. Attribution means gunas. All gunas will be expressed in the empathy. And the relationship with the perspective thinking. Some attributions of the empathy will be, I will read this, staying out of the judgment. The first one is the staying out of judgment. Number 2 is recognizing emotions in another person or in another. Third one is a communicating the words, standing of another person's emotions. So here the emotion is the most indicative perspective. Emotion. Such emotion is having different attributions. So every attribution has its own contribution. Every attribution has its own contribution towards the particular objectivity. So in this regard, starting of a judgment, staying out of judgment. Sometimes we can't give the judgment because of lack of knowledge. So that is one kind of empathy. And another empathy is recognizing the emotion in another. So what kind of emotion was taken place in another person to be understood, and same we can reciprocating whatever the requirement, that gunas, this balance of gunas. And third one is the common communicating the understanding in another person's emotion. So we can understand, suppose for example in the third case, a person was failed. So he is a known person. So he is communicating, they are consoling him. So why he has failed? Because of his own mistake, or other mistakes were attributed, or that should be understand and communicating others to pacification and also not to cry or not to feel. So both are belongs to some kind of feelings, but it can be utilized appropriately in appropriate conditions. This how to understand these things. As a important story was not as a story, a mythological episode which was happened in this Treta Yuga or the Kali Yuga, whatever it might be. This kind of, it belongs to the story of the Trimurtis. Who are Trimurti? Trimurti means three idols or the biggest gods having a good attributions. So they are Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. We can call in the mythology Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. So the deities of God is Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, all representing their gunas. One is Sattva Guna and another is Rajoguna. Third one is the Tamoguna. So one is for the Sattva Guna for creation and Rajoguna for sustainment, and third one is Layakaraka. So one is Brahma and Vishnu and Maheshwara. In this regard, what will happen? The Sattva is allocated for the creation. Likely, the Brahma used to create the things. Brahma used to create not only things, 84 lakhs of living beings or non-living beings come into this universe, and also he has created. That's why he is the creator. But creating, he got some ahankara. I am doing, like that. So that I am doing means he is in those days he has was blessed with the Parameswara or the Antaryami, whoever it might be called, the five faces or five heads to him. So that's why his Ahankara was increased day to day during the creation, and this was not tolerated by the other Devatas, and they have gone to the Iswara and tell this kind of things, or Iswara has seen, he knows Parameswara means he is Parama, Iswara is the Paratattva. So he is able to know, he wants to cut off his Ahankara, to remove Ahankara. He went to the Brahma, he has met Brahma and removed his one head with his finger or the hand. Then in that, because Brahma means creator, he is having its own powers. The powers wherever it might be given, he has to, with that power only he has to live. So these were the things, but ultimately because of a Rudra Tandava, Rudra, the Iswara became the Rudra. So Rudra and is danced like anything. So even though the Brahma's head was not fallen down, it was stuck to his hand or whatever it is, the finger. This is thumbnail. The Srishti, this is the Brahma's. So it was not gone. However, at last he has calmed himself. At last he realizes he has done some mistake. And he went to Brahma, and your head was removed because of this reason. I have removed. What I had to do, this was not leaving me. So Brahma told, I cannot do anything in this regard, I cannot think. My father, that Vishnu, you please pray to the Vishnu, sustainer. So Iswara has gone and prayed sustainer Vishnu, and Vishnu told, we cannot live because this is a Brahma. Brahma means Brahma Tattva. A Brahma Tattva is a creation, he is having Sattva-guna Sampanna. Whoever in this universe, the Sattva-guna Sampanna was felt any difficulty, definitely it is a dosha. That is Brahmahatya dosha. One head means one kind of dosha was for that the Iswara to be Brahmahatya dosha Nivarana. So he has to do something. So he has to go and at Himalayas, that big lake was there, and he has you go and take bath in that bath, and he has come back. Like that, this kind of temples were in Tamil Nadu, and they are called and also the Himalayas, that was called Brahma Kapala. Brahma Kapala, because that Kapala means head was when Iswara taken bath, then the head was removed from his hand. So that's why that through that head the water is coming, or water is continually. That's why the Brahmahatya Pataka, that is essential. So in this, it is not a episode of a story and he praised Vishnu. And before that he has praised Vishnu. Vishnu was blessed the Ishvara, and he has given that. It is Sarva. The Nama of Ishvara is Sarva Nama. Sarva Nama. So it is a common form. At the same time, though it is a common of attributions, three gunas, but at the same time, the Shiva Kesava, there is no difference at all. So that is the episode in this episode. That is nobody should do any mistake. That's empathy, means to understand others is very much essential in this universe. Whatever the capacity you are living, whatever the job you are doing, whatever the work you are doing, whatever it might be, you have to understand the others. So in the others means whoever the people met us, that is these two kinds of people. One is the Sattva Guna, another is Rajoguna, another is Layakaraka or the Tamoguna. These three gunas only will be prevailed in the human community. So we have to understand with this, the sympathy is no problem, but empathy is to understand others is very much essential. That is the difference between sympathy is a common sympathy. At that time we will sympathize, or we will cry and we will go, later we will. But empathy is not like that. If we are unable to understand, we can't do anything for that. Moreover, if you do anything without understanding them, definitely it will more problems will be done towards that person. That's why it is very important thing. Empathy means enriched pati. Enriched pati. So kindly this kind of understanding is very essential for the living beings. So Brahma and Shiva and Vishnu, these three are, this world is Trigunas. So in this regard, the empathy and the sympathy can be understood by the people. So this kind of education is essential to make to understand any kind of words in this universe. With that understanding, we can uplift ourselves to the highest wisdom of the education. Thank you, one and all. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.